It's later that evening. We have all arrived, the three of us, at Sebilis, and we are buffing up. This is pretty much what we did every time at the beginning of any dungeon. We wouldn't waste most of our buffs on the trip over there because it would take so long they'd wear off. We'd wait till we get there, and then the first thing we do is everybody would sit down with their spell books and buff themselves and everyone else up. Most of my buffs consist of things to make you generate more mana and to give you more intelligence and higher wisdom so that you can cast more spells. You have a bigger mana pool, and in addition you regenerate it faster. Lilia, who's the high elf cleric at the top of the stairs, most of her buffs consist of increasing your armor class so you don't get hit as much, and giving you hit point boosts to greatly increase the amount of damage you can take. And Fowl, who's a ranger down there, most of his buffs are things that give us protective skin, things like coat of thorns, so that if anybody hits us, they take damage, that sort of thing. And I also have to cast group resist magic because most of the mobs in here are casters. So that's a very important one to have. And as you see, if you've got too many buffs and not enough slots, since there's only 8 of them, you have to memorize a few more. Alright, we've gone a little bit further. We've fought through the first entry area, just past where I'd shown y'all in the last episode where the teleporter is. Jumped down off the bridge into the river down there, and swam into the river, down a cave in the river until we got to this location. And I'd never been in this part before, so I didn't know about the magic column of water there. I was trying to figure out why Fowl looked like he was doing so well. But this is the entry room into the second level, and as I said, a lot of the froglocks down here are casters. You saw Fowl and the wizard exchanging root spells just then. That was the roots that were coming up out of the ground and holding them in place. I do like the spell effects, and as you see, the lightning and all arcing across the froglock there. Now, having killed that one, we go just further in. The next room we get about 4 or 5 there. And you get to see me do what enchanters love to do. I'm going to lock them down here with a group mez in just a second. Or certainly attempt to. And there we go. And then I start picking them out one by one and hitting them with a single mez. The group mez is good because it will stun all of them and freeze them in place. And then I have to pick them out the Glamour of Kintaz. Is what I use to freeze them individually, one by one, because it lasts for a much longer time, at least twice as long as the group mez does, so I can keep it up. But this is why I enjoy being an enchanter right here. These kind of fights, when all of a sudden all heck breaks loose, you get a ton of folks, and it's up to you to save the day and to keep things from going all ass upwards. So this is what I truly enjoy. You see all the other froglocks are kind of frozen in place, just staring at the butterflies. Fowl roots his next target, and unfortunately one of the mezes broke. And as you see, I didn't lock them all down with didn't get a chance to lock them all down with the individual mezes before, so bad on my part, but I'll dazzle them here in a second, and we will get them all set down again. That's the problem with enchanter spells, is that all our spells, like mez and dazzle and all that, give us a ton of aggro. So even if you've got a ranger or something putting out a massive amount of DPS, you've still got a ton of aggro to deal with once they get back into the fight. And there's the butterflies as I take the Enchanter pet out. One of the froglocks was an Enchanter, so I had to lock his pet down just like I had to do with all the others. And now it's time to sit down and mez. What I'm doing the whole time this fight's going on is I'm sitting there counting 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000 from the very beginning of my first mez. Excuse me. Because the mez spell lasts for about 50 seconds, so you've got to keep a count going on, or use a timer, or use the clock on the alarm on your phone or something, so that you know when the mez is about to break, so that you can jump up and mez them again, like that, before it breaks and they come down on you. See, make them see the butterflies again. All right, taking situational awareness, make sure nothing's coming up behind us there. Unfortunately, the wizard, every time I sit down, he stays on foul until I sit. Being a caster in this game, when you sit down and the mob knows that you're meditating, it automatically bumps you up a little bit in the aggro list. So every time I sit down, he turns around and casts on me again. Alright, the wizard's down. We just have the knight there left. You'll see me going out to third person. As an enchanter, you spend a lot of time in battles out in this area, because, like I said, your large part of your thing is crowd control. So you want to get a wide view, see what's coming up. It's not quite so vital down here in a little closed-in room like this, in closed quarters, but if it was a much larger room or had passageway coming out of it, you want to definitely keep the situational awareness there. And as you see, he sucked me across the room to him. A lot of the mobs down here can summon you if you're high on their top on their aggro list and they can't reach you, like he was rooted or snared. They'll say something like, "You will not escape me, Gnarlo," and suck you across the room to him. And I'm waiting for Foul to get aggro again. There he goes. And I'm going to start casting my buffs because they're starting to wear off. Along with the buffs like Clarity and all that give everybody extra mana and faster mana regen, I've also got buffs. One of them's called Quickening that I cast on Foul there. Anytime you cast them on any of the tanks, there I am loading it up. And what it does is it increases his attack speed so that he attacks the mob much faster and gets his damage rating up. And then you'll see me target the knight here in a second. And I will cast Slow on the knight to slow him down. So that's the life of an enchanter in these battles here. You're constantly freezing ads, slowing them down, and speeding up and buffing your companions. So you never get a chance to be bored as an enchanter. And you'll notice in the fights I also, if I got the mana and got the time, I'll drop a low rent cost cutter nuke every now and then. Alright, we're just past that room. Meditating up again after a little fight. You see, staring at the spell book. The spell book comes up anytime that you, well, it used to come up anytime you meditated. And now we've hit another little river, a little pond that we all have to jump in. There's another cave in it that we have to swim down through. You'll notice the little bubbles coming out from behind us as our precious, precious air. And there's the blue air bar at the top left up there, right above where all the targeting and all is. So you do have a limited amount of air to do swimming, unless you cast a breathing spell on yourself. Okay, then it's up through this hole and into another tough fight right off the bat. So let's come out. Foul has managed to grab aggro. We've got an ad coming up. Now, I'm going to run right over here beside him so I can cast my Dazzle and catch as many targets as possible. You'll notice I ran right across the water. I've got kind of a levitation spell. Fowl has, I think it's Avian Spirit, one of his spells. It gives you a bunch of buffs and also gives you a levitation effect. So I'm able to just run straight back and forth across the little channel here as I seek down the targets and try and lock them down with my mezzes. There's another alternate advancement AA effect that I'd like to get that I believe increases your mana. Either increases your mana or increases the length of time that your group mesmerization spell works. So that once you get that, you're actually able to just cast group mezzes over and over again and never run out of mana. And yes, that was the wife calling me again, you see? You think I'm joking when I tell you she has a sixth sense that she knows whenever I am using this microphone. And she picks up the phone. Alright. Part of the problem we have down here as well is there's so many of the creatures down here, so many of the mobs have very high magic resistance ratings. So not only is that causing me problems like you saw earlier where I was having trouble mezzing them, sometimes their nukes and things don't land. So I also have to cast a Teshani spell, which is a debuff. It strips their magic resistance down. So not only am I slowing them down, I'm mezzing them, but I'm also casting the magic debuff on them, every one of which raises me higher and higher in their aggro rating. So you always need to get ready to get hit as a caster. Have your rune spells up. Make sure that you got a decent armor class. And try and make sure you're not standing too close to the mob whenever the ranger decides to start attacking it, so it doesn't just turn around and start pounding on you like this one does. Once again, casting dazzles and things, and it's just wanting to resist, and finally it sticks. So I'll have to cast the Teshani and bring its magic resistance down here as well. Another thing with casting spells is that if they're hitting on you, they can interrupt your spells. And there's Lilia casting a heal on me to repair the damage that those two were causing, as he sucked me up close to him again. But you're trying to cast a spell and the mob is pounding on you, and that will interrupt your casting and keep you from being able to get the spell off. It works both ways, however. In a later fight against the fungus people, you'll see us using interrupts to good effect to keep him from healing himself, because the myconoid, the fungus guy, was a priest. So when the two of them were down here before without me, they were having a rough time, because they'd get him down to like 20% of his health and he'd complete heal himself all the way back up. And with me being able to cast the dazzle, I was able to keep him stunned enough most of the time to keep him from healing himself, and the fights went much smoother there. That sounded a little hubris. I'm not trying to blow my own horn here or anything like that. I'm by no means flexible enough for that. I'm just pointing out kind of things that the Enchanter role is. You'd have the same thing if you had a warrior or paladin, some kind of tank class. It'd be the same thing. They have like shield bashes and taunts and kicks and all that you can use to physically keep the casters from casting their spells. I was the group looter for tonight as well, since I was walking along with several weight reduction bags, so I could loot just about everything that they had and not get weighed down. Their encumbrance is an issue in this game, and that the higher your encumbrance gets, the more weight you're carrying, the more you have a problem with attacking slower, and your movement slower, and I believe it also lowers your armor class and your dexterity. Now we're on a little bit further. Right here is the exit. You see those blue sparkly things against the back wall there. Now that we're down here, there's no way to swim back up. You saw us come down the water. There's no way of swimming back up to get out of the dungeon. So this lower level has a teleporter in it as well. And that's what on that far wall back there is the teleport site. But as you see, nothing comes easy. The teleportation room still has mobs in it. So if you were in a hurry trying to get out of here, running for your life, entered that room, you would still have to fight through these mobs right here, or hope that they didn't kill you before you could get into the blue sparkly area. Now here we're fighting the myconoids, and those have some hellacious spell resistance. Their magic resistance was even worse than the froglocks up a little further up in the dungeon, so I'm having to basically cast Tash on every single one of them. And that's just to lower their resistances enough to get the mezzes to stick and to get everybody else's spells to stick on them. You'll notice the little reds went by a while ago where I was trying to cast a slow on them. And I couldn't slow him down until I tashed them. But he's quickly down, and then we're going to draw the froglock out of the room. I think there's 2 of them left in there. Notice a little while ago when I was showing you the blue sparklies, I almost ran into the room. I haven't been, like I said, in this part of the dungeon before. I've only been in the upstairs. And Fowl said, "This is the exit in those blue sparklies," so I went to look and see. He didn't happen to say there were monsters in there. So I'm going to shut one of the froglocks down here. Hopefully. Yes. And he sits there and stares at the pretty butterflies. And is taken out of the fight. And let's see about slowing the other one down, so that he's not hitting Fowl as often. Big part of the point of that is not only does it mean that he's doing, it's a multiple prong effect. Not only is he hitting Fowl less often, causing Fowl to have interrupts and stuff left often, but it also allows the cleric in the group, Lilia, she doesn't have to heal us as often, so she gets to conserve mana to both use to have a reserve in case an emergency comes up and she has to heal you in a hurry. And it also allows her to throw one of her cleric nukes every now and then. So hopefully I will get my count right this time. Everything going on, and it has been 7 years since I played. 7 years since we quit playing. So not only am I just a little rusty playing an Enchanter, but I'm also trying to type and talk to them at the same time. We're not on voice communications here. They don't have any headphone sets, and plus they have a couple of kids who are actually sitting in the room with them. The kids are over on the other side of the room playing Lego Batman on their Wii, while Mom and Dad are sitting here playing EverQuest. So it's nice to have a gaming family. Very nice. And Fowl attacks the one I have mezzed so that he can start fighting it. I'm going to slow him down and then probably sit down and mezz again. Might drop one of my low rent nukes on him. We'll see what happens here. You'll notice a second ago Lilia was asking about food, or talking about food and water. As I said, there is food and water in this game that you're pretty much required to carry with you. Like I've got a stack of 20 water flasks and a stack of 20 iron rations. Food is good in that a lot of the player created food made with the baker trade skill will give you stat bonuses, although the stat bonuses aren't nearly as important anymore as they were back in my day, whenever all the armor and stuff that you got didn't just have these outrageous bonuses on them. Back then, having an extra +2 or +5 to your intelligence or your wisdom or your strength was quite the quite the thing to have. But they'll still give you bonuses. Plus, the big effect is that if you don't have any food and water on you, and you start getting the "you are thirsty" and "you are hungry" messages coming up on the screen, you're no longer allowed your natural hit point and mana regen abilities. You can still get them from items. You can still get the regen from items. You'll still get the regen from spells, but you won't get your innate amount of regen on top, which is still better than it used to be back in the old day. You'll hear a lot of back in the old day, because back in the old day, you could actually starve or die of thirst. Starve to death or die of thirst if you did not have any food or water on you and it was allowed to go long enough. But that they have changed and made a little easier here in the revamped EQ1. It's no longer quite as fatal. Another big change I probably alluded to before, you see the spell book there. Back in my day, for the first probably year and a half, whenever you meditated, all you saw was the spell book. It filled your screen. So if you can imagine us sitting down meditating and hearing the battle going on around us while we're staring at that spell book wondering what the hell is going on. That's a change that I can definitely say it was one of those old-timer things. It's nice to have the bragging rights and say, oh yeah, I remember back where up until level 20 I had to stare at my spell book. But it's one of those I think is a really, really good change. Now we're off on a little hallway further down the dungeon fighting some myconoids. There is an adept there. That is a bit of a problem. Some of the adepts down here, I don't know if it was they were higher level or what, but they were impossible for me to mez or dazzle. Every time I cast, it said your spell is not capable of affecting this creature. So I don't know if they were just a good deal higher than me or they were a special kind or what, but we're definitely down here into the area of the dungeon where it's mostly myconoids and mushroom men now. We took out the last warrior. We're fixing to go full bore on the adept now. I said the adepts and the priests can heal themselves, so we've discovered that the best tactic to take is get up close and personal. And we're slowing it down, getting ready for the fight. You're going to notice I'm going to get up close and personal here in a second, right up so I can smell its fungusy little armpits. And as we fight it, I will be chain casting dazzles to keep it stunned. Well, keep interrupting its casting, because it's going to sit there and try and heal itself. And the only way to do this fight is to keep interrupting it so that it's not healing itself. So you'll be seeing me casting dazzle after dazzle while Foul beats on it, and Lilia hits it with the cleric nukes to try to wipe it down as quick as possible. And once we figured that out and learned how to keep it from healing itself, as you notice, it's not that difficult. It went down a lot quicker because, after all, it is just a caster class. It may be a cleric, but it's still a caster, so it does not have all the hit points. So that went much, much better that time. You know, so I suddenly get a little paranoid here because I can hear footsteps. It's like, okay, what's sneaking up on us? But fortunately, we were out of the hallway, off to a little side passage, and the ones walking in the main hall out there did not aggro and did not come down to see us, which we cannot say here in just a moment. We were not quite as lucky or quite as well thought out in our fighting location. Another good reason for looting the bodies here, even if we weren't interested in the platinum and the stuff that they were carrying, because the majority of the stuff that they're carrying is just vendor trash these days. There's so much better stuff that you can get, so we would just collect it and turn it in for the money. Another thing is to get these corpses out of the way, because in some of the tougher fights, when I'm having to target stuff and I'm clicking willy-nilly trying to get a target so I can either slow stuff down or mez it, you can also click on the corpses. The corpses are a legitimate target, so they can get in the way of doing our job and trying to get on the correct target. So it's good to have them cleaned out of the way as well, just in case you start another fight. And the quickening is wearing off, so I'm bringing it up again. I'm high enough level. I need to get Wondrous Rapidity. I've been 58th level, but not long enough for me to actually get the 58th level spells, so I'm still using the lower level ones. And there's a much better quick spell called Wondrous Rapidity that I need to replace it with. Hopefully we'll get on and be able to go buy it later this evening. Although, thinking about it, if you notice the brief glimpses of my experience bar that you may be picking up now and then when I was looting, in 2 nights I am almost to level 59. So I've almost gone through 58 here. That shows you how quickly experience has been boosted up in this game. It used to be 2 nights fighting, you'd be lucky to get one of those yellow bubbles. You'd be lucky to get a fifth of the way through instead of almost to the next level. Now here shows you how it happens when things go bad. You'll notice all those targets there. There are 6 targets in the target box. There are at least 4 dead bodies on the ground. There's like 2 or 3 others that are walked up and are not showing up in the target box. Like I said, we picked our location bad there. It was a case where we were in the intersection of 2 hallways and there were lots of things wandering through. So the longer we fought, we had been fighting in that location for about 10 minutes there. And if you notice my little mana bar, I gated out with 4% of my mana left. I was really curious whether I'd actually have enough mana to cast the gate spell and get out of there. But fortunately we did. My group mesmerization held long enough for all 3 of us to cast our gates, get out. Valador has some kind of an item. I believe it's a hammer that he picked up in Velius, because warrior classes like rangers, warriors, paladins, those type, they normally can't gate, but I believe there was a quest line that you can follow and you get a hammer that has a right click effect on it, so that if you got it in your inventory and you right click on it, it will cast a gate spell and take you to wherever you got that hammer from. Whoever the quest people was gave it to you. So yeah, said I wish I'd caught more of that fight, but I was way too busy at the time. I had the Fraps recording on standby mode. You know, Frap says where you can stand by and it captures what's going on. When you turn it on, it captures that in the previous 30 seconds, but I was way too busy trying to mez things to remember to push the record button. So we're back here. We escaped from Sebilis. We had a great night. We're going to sell off the vendor trash and split the coins and see what our profits were for the night. So that was our fun in Old Sebilis. A great time was had by all, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.